Meghan Markle's second shot at a lifestyle docuseries has landed with a thud so loud that even Netflix executives are pretending not to hear it. Love, Meghan Season 2, or more accurately, Part 2 of a pre-filmed, pre-packaged PR stunt, has finally dropped, and instead of fixing things, it's only made them worse. After the lukewarm reception to Part 1, you'd think her team would step back, reassess, and maybe even improve the formula. But no, Meghan pushed ahead as if none of the criticism existed, releasing a stale follow-up that already feels outdated, over-edited, and painfully out of touch. And then there's the release strategy, or complete lack of one. Instead of staggering projects to give each moment room to shine, Meghan unleashed 3 major updates in a single day. The new Netflix episodes, a fresh line of Archewell-branded products, and a high-profile Bloomberg interview. 3 big swings in one news cycle. Why? The theory making the rounds is that this was a deliberate attempt to bury the backlash. By flooding the headlines all at once, Meghan hoped to dilute the wave of negative press. But here's the problem: people aren't stupid. Audiences saw right through it. The reviews poured in, and they were brutal. Even the preview told the whole story. An absurdly high dislike ratio of 91%, paired with thousands of sarcastic comments, made it crystal clear how the public really felt. The likes barely made a dent compared to the tidal wave of negative feedback. And yet, the series was marketed as if people had been begging for it. Netflix tried to spin the release as a highly demanded return, but the complete lack of genuine enthusiasm said otherwise. It was like trying to pass off leftover birthday cake as gourmet dessert. It just wasn't landing. Then there's the editing, which was nothing short of a disaster. The trailer was cut so aggressively it resembled a patchwork quilt of awkward pauses and clipped sound bites. You could practically feel the producers sweating, scrambling to stitch something watchable out of the raw footage. Voiceovers were awkwardly slapped over scenes that didn't need them, jumpy cuts gave the vibe of accidental jump scares, and filler shots filled so much space you had to wonder where the budget actually went. Why not just reshoot? Because Meghan's team filmed everything in a single block back in the summer of 2024. Both parts were shot at once, leaving no chance to adjust, reshoot, or respond to feedback. Instead of taking the traditional 2-season approach, release, gather reactions, and refine, Meghan treated it like a bulk content dump. The result? A stale, tone-deaf series already dead on arrival. What we're left with is stale footage and a recycled storyline that feels like it's been gathering dust on a hard drive for over a year. And, in fact, it has. That lag time is glaringly obvious. From the dated aesthetic choices to the stiff conversations, everything feels frozen in time, untouched by feedback, trends, or the natural evolution you'd expect in a second season. The worst part? The show still tries to pass itself off as fresh. The editing leans into a forced sense of whimsy, with a performative tone of learning together that falls completely flat. At one point in the trailer, Meghan chirps, "I'm so glad you're here to teach me." It's so deliberately staged, so painfully artificial, that it highlights the show's biggest flaw. There's nothing authentic about it. Not the setting, not the dialogue, not even the supposed chemistry with her guests. It's a show pretending to be something it never was, and the audience isn't buying it. Then there's the guest list, which raises more eyebrows than excitement. Successful lifestyle series usually thrive on charisma, familiar faces, or at least some kind of relevance. Love, Meghan, on the other hand, trots out a lineup that inspires confusion rather than curiosity. A makeup artist, an old childhood friend, and a handful of industry insiders most viewers have never heard of. This isn't exactly appointment television. Meghan may have imagined these cameos as charmingly personal, but to the audience, it comes across as little more than a desperate grab from her Rolodex. These aren't household names, they're barely even recognizable. Most of the guests feel like filler roles in a production that desperately needed star power to stand a chance. And then there's Chrissy Teigen, the real head-scratcher. Chrissy, whose history of online bullying sparked massive backlash and cost her major brand deals, somehow ended up at Meghan's so-called feel-good table. It's bizarre. For someone who, alongside Harry, has repeatedly positioned herself as an advocate for online safety and anti-bullying, inviting one of the internet's most infamous bullies sends the exact opposite message. It isn't just ironic, it's hypocritical. You can't preach digital kindness in one breath and then hand a platform to someone who built her career on snark and drama in the next. Either you stand for something, or you're just chasing views. This choice screamed pure desperation for clout. But here's the thing, this kind of contradiction isn't new for Meghan. Her entire brand hovers in that awkward in-between space. wanting to be taken seriously as a changemaker while also curating an Instagram-perfect lifestyle empire. Love, Meghan collapses under the weight of trying to be all things at once: a wholesome homemaker show, a soft-focus PR piece, and a lifestyle brand launchpad. The result isn't inspiring or convincing, it's hollow and confused. And the pacing doesn't help. The episodes drag, stitched together with a manufactured rhythm that feels less like storytelling and more like someone hitting repeat on a PR playbook. The conversations themselves feel scripted, as if written to tick invisible boxes on a production checklist. There's no spark, no genuine back and forth. Meghan simply isn't a natural host, and it shows. Every segment feels a little too rehearsed, a little too stiff. Even when she talks about food, supposedly the heart of the series, there's no warmth. Instead, there's this constant effort to sound polished, poetic, and profound, but the end result is someone playing a role rather than living it. And then there's the missing prince. Harry's name comes up often, but his actual presence is nowhere to be found. Normally, that wouldn't matter. He doesn't need to be a reality star, but the series is pitched as a peek into their shared domestic life. You can't call it a slice of home while cutting out half the household. Audiences noticed. Critics noticed. It's not even about Harry's personality. It's the glaring disconnect between the image being sold and the reality being shown. It's like buying a couple's cookbook only to realize one half of the couple never steps foot in the kitchen. To make matters worse, the show was marketed as a cultural moment. But when nothing sells out, when products linger on shelves, and when the episodes flop on arrival, the illusion falls apart. Meghan can spin it, Netflix can rebrand it, but the audience isn't buying it, figuratively or literally. The numbers don't lie. The launch didn't land. The buzz never built. And instead of reviving her image, the show only magnified the problems Meghan has consistently refused to address. Her as-ever product line, which was meant to ride the momentum of the series' release, is faring no better. Once positioned as a blend of elegance and authenticity, it now reads as another example of misreading the audience. There's no sold-out banner, no frenzied excitement, just quiet shelves and even quieter reactions. In a Bloomberg interview, Meghan tried to hype the launch, claiming they had massively scaled inventory due to high demand. If anything, that statement only highlighted her misunderstanding of the difference between viral curiosity and genuine consumer interest. People tuned in to critique, not to shop, and she misread that as momentum. Even the much-celebrated wine rollout doesn't hold up. Reports claim 10,000 bottles were sold in a single day. Impressive until you realize that amounts to just over 800 cases. In wine retail terms, that's pocket change. For someone aiming to build a lasting luxury brand, these numbers aren't a success, they are a red flag. Boutique wineries move tens of thousands of cases annually, and here is Meghan, backed by Netflix-level PR, barely moving a starter batch. That's not underwhelming, it's embarrassing. The worst part, none of this was inevitable. She could have paused, reflected on part 1, listened to feedback, and evolved. Instead, she barreled forward with a misjudged sequel that underlines the very flaws a second season might have corrected. Instead, Meghan doubled down on the same formula and somehow expected different results. There's a certain arrogance in that approach, as if the public simply didn't get it the first time. The truth, they did, and now they are bored. The second drop doesn't feel like a revival. It feels like content being pushed out because there's no other option. There's no joy behind it, no genuine evolution, just more of the same, wrapped in a slightly shinier box. Critics haven't held back either. The Guardian called it painfully contrived. The Telegraph deemed it only marginally less bad than Season 1. The Times said it feels like a series in search of meaning. That kind of critique stings because it's accurate. The show doesn't seem to know why it exists anymore. Is it meant to share recipes, tell stories, sell products, or rehabilitate Meghan's public image? Each episode tries to do all of that, and fails at every angle. The final blow is the way it's all been packaged as real. Meghan has marketed the series on authenticity, inviting viewers into her life. But none of it feels personal. The set isn't her home. The food isn't hers. The vibe isn't natural. It's performance masquerading as sincerity, and audiences can smell the difference. Viewers don't expect perfection, they expect honesty. And love, Meghan simply doesn't deliver. Viewers wanted honesty, and instead, they got a staged fantasy that's allergic to criticism and completely out of touch with what audiences actually want. There's also an unspoken tension running through the series, a sense that this isn't really about lifestyle at all, but about survival. Meghan seems determined to prove something, perhaps to herself, perhaps to the public, perhaps to the industry, that she's still relevant, that she can stand on her own without the crown. But when every move feels calculated and every guest feels like a PR chess piece, the message gets lost. Instead of rooting for her, audiences watch just to see how far the train will derail. In the end, it's not the criticism or the backlash that poses the greatest risk to her brand, it's indifference. When people stop caring enough to even mock the show, that's when it's truly over. And judging by the silence following this latest release, Meghan may be closer to that edge than she realizes.